All right, hi everybody. So welcome to the Sky King Show. This is the first and inaugural episode. I should be doing like a trailer or an overview, but I'm going to get right into it with a little bit of description of the show. I'm your host, Sky King. I am a California resident right now. I have been for the past about 9 years, since 2011, so 8 years, I guess, actually. And I'm an educator. I work at a college full time in Southern California. I have undergone multicultural training, and I have also received a graduate degree from the University of Massachusetts Boston in applied linguistics in 2015, and so I've been teaching as an adjunct part time uh, in on campuses, other campuses in Southern California, and also online with the university. And so I've taught a lot of refugees and immigrants. I've taught a lot of international students, some from Venezuela, for instance, and current students from Venezuela. And so I've learned a lot about the world in this time, but I've learned a lot about America in this time, and a lot about millennial students and my generation. I was born in 1985, and what I want to talk about in this whole show, okay, the main goal of this show is to educate ourselves about um, really Marxist education in the United States. And hence my logo has an outline of Europe, because a lot of these ideas emanate from locations outside of America. Now, I don't try to be nativist about this. In other words, xenophobic, afraid of foreign ideas, because quite honestly, at the nation's founding, there were a lot of foreign ideas, and it's just that there was a great conglomeration of these ideas into, a Declaration of Independence, so that people would be represented. And I know culturally it would be a long time before women and black individuals and as a society were integrated into that governmental structure. And that is a sad part of our history, and it has ramifications for today. However, the claims of social justice warriors or intersectionality and critical race theory, they're not perfect. And so what we're going to do is take a look at those theories, how they inform, for instance, what's going on when it comes to college campuses, as we see here. Um, college students support free speech unless it offends them. So many other views, right? Protesting right-wing speakers, conservative speakers, getting them kicked out of colleges even though they were invited. And so administrations crumble, university and college administrations crumble to this mob-like protesting. So this is a Washington Post article that talks about this and references, for instance, Ben Shapiro, several others who actually have to pay for security when there should have been security at those events. Just recently, I'd come across this article from a former individual from UMass Boston, one of my professors actually. She's from Greece originally and has taught there for some time. Great instructor. Wrote this piece regarding critical education, critical pedagogies, and Marxist education in the United States. Yeah, I experienced a lot of Marxist education at UMass Boston, and I'm currently finishing my second graduate degree in English composition from the California State University of San Bernardino. And English has often been notorious for being subversive, and maybe including a lot of these theories. Well, they are cultural theories, and they're often from France and Germany from 19th and 20th centuries. What do they have to do with America, with the United States, with its culture, with its politics? They don't have much to do. Uh, that's my contention. And I'm going to, with you, hopefully take a look at how this Marxist education and how it's perceived by individuals um, such as these academics, to be a positive gain in America. That it is pervasive, as many people suspect it is, and know it is across the country. And but I'm going to take a look at its origins, because knowing its origins helps us to comprehend what use it has for our country and our society, so that we see the rise of Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, in the form of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in Congress. We see her views. We see the Green New Deal. We see these protests on campus, some of them turning violent. We see Antifa on the rise. We also see across the country other events such as the withholding of due process for Brett Kavanaugh, President Donald Trump's Supreme Court pick, under the auspices of the Me Too movement, for instance, from my senators, such as Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein, and their questioning of Justice Kavanaugh, who was at the time, of course, nominated, but that there was this call to believe certain segments of society, such as women, so you just believe identities, right? While you're actually accusing an individual. So there was this lack of due process. Then there was also, of course, the jump to condemn the Covington High School students because it was a white individual. The initial images and reports, and for days actually, continued. People would tell me it was the Rorschach test. You're just seeing, and whatever you're seeing is the truth. Like, well, no, not really. There are facts happening on the ground at the Washington Mall. And students were horribly maligned and doxxed and by mainstream media, news media. And then we have the Russia collusion, where the mainstream media, aka fake news, propagated stories that are just wholly false. And it's really sad. It's really sad that the discourse has gotten this way. Why has it gotten this way? I'm going to provide answers, not the only ones. But also there's this trend I want to show you. I want to take a look here at this Pew Research, this Gallup poll. The title here doesn't really describe it. Democrats more positive about socialism than capitalism. Yes, that's true, but there's a shift that is significant. And so what I want to do before I, close this video is kind of look at millennials. So my fellow millennials, of which I am one, 1985 here, and which puts me around almost 34. By some estimates, I am a millennial. So let's just take a look at this though, because what's happening here, if you look at what I'm highlighting here, 47% of Democrats view capitalism positively, down from 56 in 2016. It's a significant drop in just 2 years, right? So let's just take a look though at what this really means. So you can see here that when it comes down to this here, so let's take a look. This Gallup poll has been implemented and asked since 1949. And so some of the definition of socialism in the culture have shifted and changed since it was first implemented. But let's take a look at just the last 9 years. 2010, let's take a look. If you see here, in this first column, positive view of capitalism, this 18 to 29 demographic, so students that have been in college for the last 10 years. Okay, plenty of them. There are about 2 million new freshmen every year, give or take. So that's about 10 million people, right? 2 times 10, right? We're talking about 20 million people. That's a significant sector of the electorate, yeah? Who are hearing these ideas, and then the rest of them at this age who don't go to university or college, or who started a degree and didn't finish it, they are also imbibing it in the culture around them. So if we look, it was 68% of that age group viewed capitalism positively. And then we have this 45%. 2018, what happened? Well, obviously the the Great Recession, the economic downturn was severe. So students graduating at that time or going into college and university didn't have great prospects coming out economically. So that was already a hit to capitalism at the time. But why the continued significant drop when over the last 2.5 years, the economy has grown and boomed quite a bit? And it grew under Obama's watch, but very slowly. It could have grown more. But, deregulation, boom, the economy is booming. And unemployment rates are historical lows, okay? 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. I mean, we're seeing extreme lows in various minority groups. And But why this continued drop? It's not that, look over here, it's not that socialism increased. Look, it hasn't even had a net gain in that time. Yeah, it's dropped and then it went up, but then it dropped back down to 51. So we're not seeing really much of a change there in this demographic. And the reason I'm focusing on this demographic is not because I'm just a millennial and I'm, self-centered, narcissistic, and but the point is that the changes aren't anywhere significant in any of the other demographics. And I think I have a great reason why. There's this massive shift of over 20 points toward capitalism. So it's not that socialism is liked more, it's that capitalism is liked significantly less. Why? Well, it has to do with something called critical pedagogy that I will go into detail in over several videos. There are several theorists and educational theorists and academics who have forwarded this sense of teaching, of education, over the last 20 years or more, actually. And the leading luminary in that field is someone by the name of Paulo Freire, a Brazilian educational theorist whose ideas were formulating in the 60s and 70s. This is a militaristic time in Brazil, dictatorship, heavy crackdown and control of top-down control of the economy. And I'll go into more detail about that. But the idea is that there's a negative concept of education, and it's called the banking model. Okay, he instituted the banking model, and again, look for more videos about this. But basically, the idea is that American education, higher education, college and universities, uses this model to describe how, if we want to just be an efficient business-like education experience, just dump facts into our brains, and we're not critical of where those ideas came from. And so I think that this concept alone has done much. So the Sky King Show, we're going to hack the academy. In other words, we're going to look at ways to succeed in the academy, and I need your views, I need your feedback, so hopefully you can give it. But the idea is we're going to look at the origins of these ideas that come across in intersectionality, that come across in the binary of oppressed and oppressors, and how, while that might have developed at some point in society, in different societies in Europe and in South America, we're going to see how that might not really fit well for a market-driven economy that is capitalistic, meritocratic, has problems, but is a very different structure. Should we be applying critical pedagogy in this sense of oppressed and oppressor? Well, I'll see what you have to think. But look for more episodes coming from me. I'm going to set up a schedule so you'll know when I'm actually producing these videos and when I'm going to post them on YouTube. You can look at theskykingshow.com. Please subscribe there. Subscribe on YouTube. The more subscribers, the more content I can start bringing to you all, the more I can devote my time and attention to this. I find it critical, especially because just last month I discovered that California is implementing ethnic studies curriculum that is based on critical pedagogy, and it has some problematic viewpoints about race and about identity with race that I'd like to review for everyone. And comments are actually open and available for anyone in California until August 15th. So I will be sending my review and my feedback to the Board of Education, who will be reviewing all of that before they fully make a final draft of ethnic studies curriculum. So sorry for that little plug in there at the end, but I really want to make it clear that this downturn in capitalism is explicable. I can explain some of it, and I think it'll be very intriguing, and I think it has much to do with the current generation, the millennial generation. So look for more videos, and man, this goes too quickly, but we'll be talking soon. There's a lot of data, there's a lot of experiences that I have, but this show will be so much better and so much more applicable to everyone if I get comments, because I'd like to actually interview not just local constituents, local politicians, and go to protests around here in California, but I need to hear from students across the country. We need to know how pervasive it is, how pervasive these ideas are. I'll bring more of my experiences into these conversations. As a white heterosexual male, I'm seen as a problem, and I've been called that, and I've been called racist, and so we're just going to take a look at this because they are genuine beliefs of individuals. So I want to approach them that way, and hopefully we'll learn together. So take care. There was much more I wanted to show you tonight, but I'm going to cut it off so it can actually be a digestible video. All right. Take care, everybody, and I will be in touch soon. Bye.